live, and I'll come back in a few minutes. I just need to go downstairs, okay?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Pablo.
Today is the 25th of November. It's my mom's birthday, so a special prayer today. Let's bring our thoughts together in this beautiful morning in the UK, frozen but beautiful. Master Jesus, we are together once more to study about mediumship. Please let us always reflect upon this interesting and always surprising subject regarding this beautiful relation that is between the spiritual world and our world. May we always take something new out of it, and may we apprehend something, and may this always be a space that we can use to clear our doubts whenever they may come up. Be with us today and always. Thank you, and so be it.
Amen.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Hello.
Perhaps we could start, because we nearly finished the chapter we were studying last week, which was 18, while Guilherme is doing whatever he has to do. Let me see if I can share my screen with you guys. And then he picks up from there. Can you see it?
Yes.
Because last time we stopped somewhere here, we could resume from this part here, which talks about in the mediumship and mental problems. I'll just read this final lines here. We must use all available means to keep mediumistic practice away from those who show the least sign of eccentricity in their ideas or weakness in their mental faculties, for they are obviously predisposed to insanity, which any over-exciting cause may develop. In this respect, spiritist ideas have no more influence than others, but should insanity manifest itself, it will take on the character of the dominant preoccupation, just as it would take on a religious character in persons who hand themselves over to excess in devotional practices, but the responsibility would be attributed to Spiritism. The best thing to do with any persons who display a tendency toward an idée fixe is to steer their preoccupations in another direction in order to provide rest to their weakened organs. In this matter, we would call the attention of our readers to section 12 of the introduction to the Spirit's book. So, hi, Guilherme.
Thank you.
Just finishing this chapter. Yeah, because we were nearly, but we had to finish before ending the chapter. So I was just reading this final bit here. And now I hand it over to you, if people have no questions.
So no questions then. All right.
Okay, I'll
But
stop
what?
sharing it.
Oh, okay. You stop sharing, and I will share from
Yeah.
my end. Okay. So we are starting today the role of the mediums. I'm just increasing my screen. Okay, so we have a few topics as our roles of mediums, and I will start today. We will start today in the influence of the medium's spirit. The influence of the medium spirit. During the time in which they exercise their faculty, are mediums in a perfectly normal state. Sometimes they are in a state of crisis that is more defined or less so. This is what fatigues them and why rest is necessary. But most of the time, their state is not otherwise than normal, especially where writing mediums are involved. What can I say about that one here? They are using the word crisis, and I would use the word trance, where it would be easier to me to understand. And mediumistic trance is not well understood either, because many people think about different things, about what could be happening when the medium is in trance. And in the reality, we do not lose the control of our physical abilities. Our perispirit is not disconnected from our physical body. It's more like we move a little bit away, and then the spirit communicating, moving closer, so we share same impressions. And we, as a medium, we channeling the desire, the wishes of the spirit to write or to talk. And there is something here. This is what fatigues them. The practice shows us that, yes, if we are in deep trance for so many hours, yes, there's a massive fatigue. But that's not what happens in a mediumship meeting. In a mediumship meeting, the indoctrinator should be also paying attention to the general well-being of the mediums, and we kind of establish a period where we could have or not a communication by that medium. So we are not going beyond, like, let's say 10 minutes per communication, and that's already a long one, a lengthy communication. And sometimes after that length of communication, yes, the medium will fill the leftover energies, if I can say like that, from the communicating spirit. But 9 out of 10, before the end of the meeting, the medium is not feeling anything anymore. And there's 1 out of 10 that is still feeling something. He will bring to the attention of the indoctrinator. And then a healing can be done. And quite often, most of the time, the medium after that, he's fully recovered, right? But this is also down to the medium, who also want to be thinking about it after the communication. Sometimes it does not help, right? So what we recommend is that after the communication is over. We don't think about it, we don't talk about it. Especially after the meeting, when we are no longer in the meeting in the spiritist center, or we try not to think about it, because we know that our thoughts have power, and when we are thinking about something, we are connecting to something, ourselves to that something. When we are thinking about someone, we are connecting to this person. So this is what we recommend. Can written or verbal communication also come from the medium's own power? Sorry, own spirit? The medium's soul can communicate like any other. If it enjoys a certain degree of liberty, it recovers its qualities as a spirit. That's what people call animism, right? You have proof of this when you are visited by the souls of living persons who communicate with you through writing, often without having been called. You should realize, but before we go on, he is giving a highlight to the writing method, but it can also be happening through a verbal communication, okay? And is it really possible to have someone incarnated communicating through a medium? Yes, it is. We see this through our mediumistic practice. Through the mediumship meetings, it does not happen every day, right? But from time to time, we do have situations like that. And most of the time, when this happens, is when someone is ill, is in a hospital, in a coma, or something like that, okay? You should realize that among the spirits you evoke, there are those who are still incarnated on earth. In these instances, they speak with you as spirits and not as a human being. Why couldn't the medium's own spirits do the same? Doesn't this explanation seems to confirm the opinion of those who believe that all communications emanate from the medium's own spirits rather from another? That's a good question, isn't it? They are mistaken in understanding that their opinion is absolute. The medium's spirit can certainly act on its own, but this is no reason for other spirits not to be equally able to act through the medium's intermediation. How can we tell if the spirit who responds is that of the medium, or if it is another spirit? By the nature of communication. You study the circumstances and language, and you will be able to tell. The medium's spirit manifests, especially in a somnambulistic or ecstasy state, because that is when it is freest. But in the normal state, it's more difficult. Moreover, there are responses that could not be possibly attributed to the medium's own spirit. That is why I have told you to observe and study. There is something very important here. Observe and study, circumstances and language. Nowadays, well, maybe ever, people like to judge the communications. This is from the medium, this is not from the medium, this is animism. We start to put the people on crosses because we think they are not trustworthy anymore. And sometimes we are judging too fast. I don't feel that I can come in a single go and tell you that you, medium X, you are basically only doing animism. I cannot. I need to be able to spend some time, like Kardec says here, observing and studying a sequence of communications through this medium, then I need to compare what is coming from this medium, what he's saying, what he's writing. You know, it's like me. If you ask me to talk about quantum physics, I'm not able to. But if I'm in trance, I start to divagate about intrinsic knowledge about quantum physics. Cannot be me, or cannot be me in a normal status. Because I don't know what I was in my previous reincarnation. Perhaps I was a physicist. I don't know. Perhaps in trance, I'm able to reach past knowledge I had. I don't know. Is it a possibility? Yes, it is a possibility. But then we should not be eager to judge A, B, or C, saying that's not a spirit. That's the medium itself. You know? We need to be very careful. When persons are speaking to us, it is easy to distinguish between what will actually originates from them and what they are only repeating. The same applies to spirits. If we are familiar with the medium, we also know the way he or she speaks. We know what he or she believes. We know the tone of the voice. We know the position of the body when he or she is talking, for example. And when we have a real communication, sometimes the voice is a bit different. The words are different. The way he or she talks is entirely different. And the most important, the content of what he said is beyond that person's knowledge. Likewise, let's say I'm a physicist, and through the communication, I start to talk about botanics. And realistically, I cannot even distinguish if I'm having a rose or a flower in my hand. So through those indications, we are able to evaluate a bit better, okay? Since the medium's spirits could have acquired knowledge in previous existences, which it has forgotten in the present body, but which it remembers as a spirit, couldn't it draw from deep inside itself the ideas that seems to go beyond the reach of its present education? This often happens in cases of somnambulistic or ecstatic trance. But there are still circumstances that allow for not doubt, study the matter in the depth and meditate. Well, but then I'm in a mediumship meeting and I'm having a message from the medium's previous incarnations, and what's the problem then? What's the problem? It can be a problem if through the communication you are receiving instructions that are really nonsense, telling you to do stupid things, telling you this, telling you that. That is a problem. But if I'm getting instructions that the results of those instructions or those informations are positive, what is the problem? I ask myself. Are the communications of mediums on spirit always inferior to those that may be attributed to other spirits? Are communication of the mediums on spirits always inferior to those that may be? Always? No. Since the communicating spirit can be of lower order than of the medium, in which case it will speak less sensibly. This may be seen during somnambulism because that is when the somnambulist spirit frequently manifests. However, it will often give very good information nonetheless. Something came to my mind here that a lot of mediums try not to work with suffering spirits. There are mediums only available to work with elevated spirits. At least that's what they think. The reason behind that is because lots of mediums believe that if I'm channeling, if I'm giving voice or writing messages from a lower order spirit, people may think I'm also a lower order spirit. People may think that I'm deeply connected to that kind of spirit. So when I feel the presence, the energy of a lower order spirit, I do not allow that communication to happen. And I'm only available to work with the elevated spirits. I would recommend people that have that impression to study a bit more, to understand that as a medium, we do communicate to any spirit, and it's not the communicating spirit moral education or moral level that define our own moral. Hi, Liz.
In the spirit world, it doesn't make any sense for an elevated spirit to waste their time doing tasks that not so elevated spirits are perfectly good at achieving. There is a hierarchy, and it's, the management of needs. And if an elevated spirit is better used elsewhere, why leave, those tasks for less evolved spirits where they can be useful as well?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Makes sense, isn't it? So what we can take from what Lee said is that everyone has a different task. Everyone has a different ability. And regarding our abilities or our moral elevation, will be of better use doing some sort of activity than others. Does the communicating spirit transmit its thought directly, or does it use the medium's incarnated spirit as intermediary? That's an interesting question. The medium spirit is the interpreter because it is connected to the body, which serves for the communication. And because this link between you and the communicating spirits is necessary, just as an electric wire is necessary for transmitting news over a distance. And an intelligent person is necessary on either end of the wire to receive the communicate. Again, any mediumistic phenomena occurs between perispirit to perispirit. When we have a mediumistic phenomena, the communicating spirit will not connect directly to the medium's body. It does not work like that. We may have the impression that is the way it works, but it's not what happened. What happened is the perispirit of the discarnated spirit connects to the medium perispirit, and the medium perispirit will transmit what has to be transmitted to its physical body. Okay? Does the medium's spirit influence the communication that it must transmit from other spirits? Yes. Because if there is no affinity between them, the medium's spirit could alter the response by adapting then to its own ideas and tendencies. But it does not exert any influence on the communicating spirits themselves. It is merely a bad interpreter. Basically, through any communication, we have some percentage of the medium's own spirit. If that percentage is too high, the message will be totally discredited. If this message is very little, that's what we see most of the time. And when he says he's a bad interpreter, basically is that the medium needs to work to achieve this better synchronization between the communicating spirit and passing the message. And that will come with exercise, with practice. Okay? There's nothing like forever here. You must say something, isn't it, Zoli? I heard your lips.
You heard my thank you, because I think it's exactly that I must say something, and you kept precise the set all of our words and the vocal and all. Fantastic, wonderful. First, I must say I'm sorry I am a little bit later today, but I must say, because it's happened to me in south of Sweden. Many years ago, and I was there. Was somebody hostess to me, because we have an event next day, and no hotel, no anything more. Everything was full. Every hotel and place was full, because they have sometimes a medicine event there. Okay, and I was there with her, and she said, I don't know, I think that I already told about that here, but to remember fresh up. I remember that in the bill in the car, she said, the hostess, I don't want. I know I have majority to see, but I don't want that. But I said to you, God, oh, I don't want to see anymore, and never more I saw spirit. And but there was one spirit was inside the bin when the car was, because when I I would like to sleep there, of course, another day, though I was there one night. And then I remember that it was now I slept and deep with a cat. Cat loved me, and we slept together. And mid of the night, I wake up. Something. I feel good. It was a spirit here. I felt that. It was a spirit here, and I saw it was one mother there, and it was when the spirits like in the air in there, and she was about 50, between 50, 60 years older, and and I saw her like now, and she said, but I couldn't hear her, because like a glass was between, and I said, oh, take it easy, you be helped. You will be helped. And sometimes she disappeared, because I think this was only she would like. And I said, oh, Father, I hope I remember this, her face tomorrow, because I knew it was to me. It wasn't something to the hostess. And there in the morning, I said anything in the morning, because you had a hurry to breakfast and to the event. In the night, that night, I said to you, but I told it her and described it. She said, "Oh, I know her. He was wore about sun here, and Manuel will try to find her and talk and I say a brace here in this night. Okay, and then, so only this happens. So she used me and the respect that they respect always, that she would to see and spirits and come so to her. So and used only for the a brief of a moment. This is interesting, and I think is in this what you just do learn us now about. I think.
Okay. Thank you.
My English is terrible. Sorry.
Let's continue then. Is that why certain spirits prefer certain mediums? There is no reason. There is no reason. They look for the interpreter who best sympathizes with them and transmits their thought most precisely. If there is no sympathy between them, the medium's spirit will be antagonistic, and will put up resistance, making itself an unwilling and almost always unfaithful interpreter. You yourselves experience the same thing when the ideas of a scholar are transmitted by a foolish or dishonest person. There is also the situation, he is speaking more like the medium sympathizing to that type of information or the spirit. But there is also something we cannot neglect, is the fluidic connection between the medium and the communicating spirit. Can we understand how this might be true of intuitive mediums, but not when we are dealing with mechanical mediums? You do not understand the medium's role very well. And being honest, I think until today, we have a lot to learn. There is a law that still escapes you. Remember that in order to produce the movement of an inert object, the spirit requires a portion of the medium's animalized fluid, which is used to momentarily animate the table. For example, making it obey its will. Very well. For an intelligent communication, it is also needs an intelligent intermediary. And this intermediary is the medium's spirit. Again, all mediumistic phenomena occurs between the discarnated spirit perispirit and the incarnated medium perispirit. This does not seem to apply to what we call talking tables, because when they and other inert objects, such as a planchette and baskets, respond intelligently, it appears that the medium's spirit does not participate in any way. That is a mistake. Our spirit can give momentarily fictitious life to an inert object, but not intelligence. An inert object has never had intelligence. It is therefore the medium's spirit who receives the thought without realizing it and transmits it little by little with the help of various intermediaries. Do these explanations imply that the spirit of the medium is never completely passive? It is passive, but it does not mix its own ideas with those of the communicating spirits. But it is never completely null-filled. its cooperation is indispensable as an intermediary, even in so-called mechanical mediums. So even when we have what is called mechanical mediums, there is an interference, a participation of the medium's own spirit. Isn't there a greater guarantee of independence in the mechanical medium than in the intuitive medium? Without a doubt. And for some communications, a mechanical medium is preferable. When we are familiar with the faculties of a particular intuitive medium, however, and depending on the circumstances, it does not matter. It means that certain communications require less precision. He's saying here that the mechanical medium is preferable, but we believe that pure mechanical mediums is very rare to find nowadays. The theory of inert mediums. Among the different... Hi, Denise.
Is there a reason to be harder to find? Because we know that we don't have more like physical effects, yes, because there's a reason for that. And is it, and just for the same, is there a reason to be more rare mechanical mediums?
I personally believe that everything has its own moment. When we had lots of mediums of physical effects, and they still exist, but was because it was a need to get people's attention through the physical phenomena. I also believe that on the beginning we have more mechanical mediums was because a lot of people would not believe otherwise. A lot of people will put those communications on hold, or they would offer too many doubts because the medium was conscious, the medium was able to interfere, we have to remember that on the beginning of Kardec's time, there was a massive battle to break that new information through people. Today is already difficult. Imagine on the 1800s, it was way more difficult. So my belief is that at that time, people were more prepared to accept communications in scenarios where clearly that could not have come from that medium, and the medium had no information at all about what has been received, you know, instead of receiving informations to a medium that was aware of the subject or could have applied some degree of its own thoughts. I think that's one of the reasons, but can be for other reasons. That's my own take. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
The theory of inert mediums. Among the different theories proposed to explain spirit phenomena, there is one that presumes that there is a true mediumship in inert objects. For example, in the basket or cardboard that serves as the instruments. The communicating spirit would identify itself with the object and render it not only living but also intelligent, which has given rise to the designation inert mediums to such objects. What is your opinion? I only need to state the following. If the spirit were to transmit intelligence to the box and give it life, the box would be able to write by itself without the medium support. It would be as strange for an intelligent person to become a machine as for an inert object to become intelligent. This is one of the many theories derived from the preconceived ideas and which will crumble in the light of experience and observation. It's a bit obvious, right? So, but the question was posed at the time. As well-known phenomenon seems to make acceptable the idea that there is in inert animate objects more than just life, perhaps even intelligence, is the phenomenon of table, baskets, etc., expressing anger or affection in their movements. No, it's not a question. It is the phenomenon of tables, baskets, etc., expressing anger or affection in their movements. When an angry man shakes a stick, it is not the stick that is angry, or even the hand that is holding it, but rather the thought that directs the hand. Tables and baskets are no more intelligent than a stick. They have no intelligent sentiments, but obey an intelligence. In other words, a spirit neither transforms itself into a basket, nor chooses to dwell in it. If it is unreasonable to attribute intelligence to these objects, could we nevertheless regard them as a variety of medium and designate them as inert mediums? It is a matter of words, which means little to us, provided you yourselves understand what you mean by them. You are free to call a puppet a man. I don't think those questions are very applicable for today, but at the time it was important to clarify those questions. The aptitude of certain mediums for things they do not know, language, music, drawing, etc. Spirits only have the language of thought, not articulated speech. Therefore, they use only one language. Thus, a spirit could express itself mediumistically in a language it had never spoken when incarnated. In this case, where does it get the words it uses? You already answered this question by yourself when you said the spirits only have one language, which is that of thought. We're going to be talking about that here. Everyone understands this language, both humans and the spirit. When addressing the incarnate spirits of the medium, the discarnated spirit does not speak in French or English, but the universal language of thought. In order to translate its ideas into articulated, transmissible language, it utilizes the vocabulary of the medium. Hi, Denise. Denise?
Sorry. Yeah, I always heard about Esperanto to be like a universal language for the future, and my aunt used to talk about that. So it seems there's no language. So
this is a topic that will not please everyone, because people that love Esperanto will not like to hear that we don't need Esperanto, right? Likewise, people that don't like to speak English, I have my own language, for example. So I think Esperanto is positive, it's an exercise, but how fruitful will be this experience, this exercise in the long run? I don't know. I truly don't know. And what I can say is that we had experiences in mediumistic meetings where one spirit comes, and if you start to speak with him in a different language, he does not understand. Likewise, sometimes the spirit will try to communicate through certain mediums, and that's not possible because he does not find a common language to exercise that. So it's very complicated.
Okay, thank you.
The way I see is that first of all, we have to split and understand what is spirit. Spirit is not perispirit. When we talk about spirit, we may be given characteristics to this spirit that is a characteristic of the perispirit. But that is a different kind of study, okay? I think that through our practices, sometimes we have to speak to that spirit in his language. And if he does not find as well a medium able to perceive his thoughts in his language, the communication will not happen. So I have the practice show me a different point of view, okay? Hi, Osoli.
This is very interesting because when we started, we know about Freud's law, and we are always in the freedoms we deserve and we want, because it was I want to do something, I want to think about something, so I do because it is my shoes, and I think about this is very difficult. Yes, it's difficult because I think about. I remember my husband, my first husband, that died, and he was a medium, and but the medium, they don't remember anything, and she was completely somnambule and have remembered anything. And I remember the comment about through him, spirit talked in Germany. I can't Germany. I would like to help him, but I can't Germany. And I felt I'm Bill, and I say, oh my God, help me, because I would like to help him. And you must believe it, I felt his needs. I speak, and I could be with him. I said, we can be together. We can be together. You know, you will be, and come and help to you. And the spirit, he was silent, and then I think it help, because the freedom is the very, very important. And it was at that time, that time it was peace and calm, and I talked calm to him. It doesn't matter. I tried English, I tried in Portuguese, and when I changed here, and I think it was it helped him, because it was calm, and my husband sleep. Oh. So I because I say this is difficult because we don't know why happened, why this happens, and help around is almost difficult to help. But I try for my manner, and it was good. And I think it was one language is universal. This is love. And I had love to him. I could feel what's his problem, but I couldn't talk with words. But he knew I understand his situation. So I hope you understand me now, because it's not difficult to explain, and it's difficult this question too.
I hope we do. Thank you. Thank you. If that is so, spirits would only express themselves in the medium's language. But we know that they write in language that are unknown to the medium. Isn't that contradiction? First, you should realize that not all mediums are equally adept to this type of exercise. Second, spirits only lend themselves to it occasionally when they deem to be useful. For normal length communications, they prefer to use a language that is familiar to the medium because it presents them with fewer material difficulties to overcome. So, using the language that is known by the medium is better, is easier to have a communication, right? Doesn't the ability of certain mediums to write in a foreign language prove the fact that they had spoken it in another lifetime and have intuitively retained it in the present one? That could certainly be the case, but it is not the rule. With some effort, a spirit can temporarily overcome material resistance, which can be verified when the mediums write in their own language using words unknown to them. So yes, if we do get a message in a different language, perhaps in the past we were German, Japanese, whatever, but sometimes that's not what is happening. Could a person who does not even know how to write do so as a medium? Yes. But you must understand that there is a great mechanical difficulty to overcome, because the hand is not used to the movements required to form letters. The same applies to painting mediums who do not know how to draw. Could a medium for very low intelligence transmit? Could a medium of very low intelligence transmit communications of an elevated order? Yes. For the same reason that a medium can write an unknown language. Mediumship per se does not depend on intelligence or moral qualities. In the absence of a better instrument, a spirit can use whatever one is at hand. However, for communications of a certain order, it is natural that it will prefer the mediums who offers it the fewest material obstacles. There is a further consideration. Mentally impaired individuals are only so because of the imperfection of their brain. Since their spirit may be more advanced than one might think, you have proof of this through some evocations of living and dead mentally impaired persons. In our spirit center, we have an activity that helps kids with difficulties, mechanical difficulties, spiritual difficulties, whatever. And there is one kid in particular that he is a medium, extensive medium. Himself, he's not able to talk properly. He has difficulties that he cannot talk, or he's basically he mentioned a few words and that's it, right? But when he is in trance, he speaks normally. So that's is an example of what has been written here. This is a fact born out by experience. Many times we have evoked the spirits of living mentally impaired individuals who provided pattern proof of their identity and answered us in a very sane and even superior manner. The impaired state is a punishment for the spirit who suffers because of the constraint under which it finds itself. Mentally impaired mediums can thus sometimes offer a spirit who wants to manifest greater resource than one might think. Revue Spirit, 1860. Interesting. I personally don't see a need to conduct exercise as Kardec did for evocations, but those that were done at his time were very important because that were giving him information to prepare to conclude his theory about the spiritual world, about the mediumship, about a lot of things. And he was so into it that, for example, we see here that he was evoking someone incarnated with some physical limitations to come to the mediumship meeting to bring us knowledge, to bring us information about the spiritual world. So, what time is that? I'll stop here. That will be for next week. So let me stop sharing. Oh, the room's full of people. I cannot see them when I'm sharing things. Let's do a final prayer. Master Jesus, spiritual friends that give us support to this endeavor of this humble study. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be here, trying to learn a bit more, trying to help ourselves, trying to help others. Master, give us the strength to continue in this path. Give us the joy to see Spiritism and mediumship as a happy event. Embrace that with joy in our hearts. Allow us to spread this sentiment to everyone, helping, as we spoke about today, kids, people with some impaired situations, helping those who do not know what they have, and we might help them because we know a little. Be with us today and always. So be it. Well, thank you, everyone. Looking forward to see you again next weekend. Are we sure?
Bye-bye. Thank you for today.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.